And then all of a sudden, I remember 3 tall white beings just appeared in the foyer, and they're just looking at me pretty much. And they were just checking to see what my intentions were, which looking back on it now, I do find that weird.
Well, I was then thought, I better do a tune in too and find out what's going on. And I said to you, oh shit, it's a galactic hub. Hello everyone, welcome back to Phoenix Awakened. I'm your host Jason.
And I'm Allison.
And this is episode number 9, Allison's experiences being a tour guide in Alice Springs. Very interesting topic, this one.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened in just the 7 months that I was there.
Yeah, so you were there for 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so take us back to, I guess, the beginning of how you became a tour guide in Alice Springs and touring around Uluru and like everything that you did.
So I always wanted to be a tour guide besides being wanting to be an archaeologist. I always wanted to be a tour guide and work in Egypt. But I found out that you can't be a tour guide and work in Egypt if you're not Egyptian. So that kind of squashed my dreams right there. And I was working in a bakery at the time, and I was getting to a point where I was getting to about 4 years, and I was feeling the nudge that I need to do something else, try something else. So I was just looking at job seek or some kind of job seeking engine on the internet, and I discovered that you could do tour guide in Australia. So I thought, well, okay, apply for that, but I had to live in Alice Springs, and I have never lived by myself in a different state before, so it was a huge decision and a huge move for me, that my parents weren't too keen on me going, but they did help me to get there. So, and the drive up there was amazing. The drive up there was absolutely amazing. I love driving, and driving to Alice Springs was a very freeing experience. And I got to see a lot of things along the way. We stayed at Cooper Pedy, which was an awesome place as well. And then eventually got to Alice Springs, and I remember checking into our hotel, and then I called you for the first time since I left Melbourne. And we were having a conversation, and then all of a sudden I remember 3 tall white beings just appeared in the foyer, and they're just looking at me pretty much. And they were just checking to see what my intentions were, which looking back on it now, I do find that weird.
Well, I was then thought, I better do a tune in too and find out what's going on. And I said to you, oh shit, it's a galactic hub. A lot of galactics go there and hang out. It's like, oh gee. And I just got in my head, you have to behave yourself here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're going to have to be really mindful of your energetics and everything like that.
Because I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was working on even developing just, trying to heal my ego, my arrogance, my cockiness as well.
It's just shadow work.
It was just shadow work, but yeah, in that place I had to be very mindful of what I did on an energetic level.
Yeah, you had to be really mindful of everything, and it was not something that you've ever experienced before.
No.
And I was feeling for you. I was like, oh geez, she's by herself. She's, pretty much middle of nowhere, centre of Australia, and it's a galactic hub, and it's like, wow, okay. So,
yeah, it was, yeah, so we did that, and yeah, they came to check on me and everything. And we also realised that we got told from someone from America that it was also actually a neutral zone,
that's right.
which was created by this pirate.
That's what we were told
at the time, and I think he created it because he wanted, I don't know, some kind of protection. I can't remember exactly the story of why he created it, but I do remember that this person from America said that I was in a neutral zone, and we just recently discovered that neutral zones and safe zones are actually not what they appear to be.
Because we were told at the time, like, a neutral zone is that pretty much a neutral zone is if you're good or bad, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it
you
was
couldn't do any
completely
shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was that was pretty much the law. So anybody could go there, but they had to behave themselves. If they didn't, there would be consequences. So, which was, interesting way to be, because everybody's equal. They're just working on who they are and just being who they are.
And that's how it should be anyway.
Yeah.
And then a safe zone is a place where people can feel safe.
Yeah.
Or beings can feel safe.
Yeah.
So, but we discovered recently that these neutral zones and safe zones are actually not what they appear to be, because they can actually hinder the growth of people and beings that are in that area. And which is also really interesting for me because of all the not the journeys, but because of the tours that I went on, and also being in the outback as well. There's a lot of craft activity, a lot of galactic activity. So I also did some safe neutral zones, which once we discovered that they're not as what they appear to be, I instantly, took them down, because I wasn't actually really sure if they were still working anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so neutral zones. No.
And you're forgetting that you were living next to Pine Gap.
Oh, yeah, I did actually forget that, because...
So you can do your own research there. I don't think we need to discuss too much about that.
No.
It's but similar to an Area 51.
Yeah. Yes, that's right, because we were talking to them, because you were still in Melbourne, I was in Alice Springs, and we were talking to the couple in America, and they were really interested in that particular place.
Yes.
I didn't even realise that I was next to it, or let alone what it is.
Yeah.
Until they said, yeah, it's very similar to Area 51. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was like...
Which makes sense for the Galactic Hub.
It makes a lot of sense for the Galactic Hub. So then I went on, as I was learning to be a tour guide, and to be a tour guide in Alice Springs was a tough gig.
Yeah, hard yards.
Like a tough gig.
Wasn't it 6 weeks of training or something?
Something along those lines. And they try to push you earlier because they want tour guides to go on there. But I'm like, no, I'm going to take my time, because I want to be able to make sure that I'm confident in what I'm doing, because I've got to drive a manual bus. I don't drive manuals. I don't do a manual. And I had to drive a manual bus that seated 24 people, or a manual, not even a truck. What do you call it? It's like a massive bus truck thing.
To give people an idea, it was one of the wheels, or the wheels you were at, one of the wheels was as big as you.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm 5'2".
Yeah. So it gives you an idea how massive this thing was.
Yeah. And they tried to rush me so I could be a tour guide.
And you were freaking out about driving the manual.
Oh, like seriously. And also freaking out about trying to drive this massive thing that you don't, because it's so big that you don't have a lot of space on either side of the lines when you're driving.
Trying to park it. How did you park it?
After a while, it actually gets a lot easier after a while. Because I also drove a minibus as well, which held 24 people, and we would have to use a trailer for everyone's luggage. So there was one section in Kings Canyon when you need to reverse in to the parking lot.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was very interesting, where you're trying to reverse in and you're trying to direct this trailer in, and your customers or your clients or your passengers are all sitting there looking at you. Okay, and then like going, okay, you got to go a bit left, you got to go a bit right. And it's like sometimes it can be a bit embarrassing, because you're supposed to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know what you're doing. But sometimes when you're reversing, it just doesn't work out that way.
Here's a girl from the city, thinks she can be a tour guide driving massive vehicles in Alice Springs.
Seriously, like it was a hard gig, because we spoke all the time whenever I came back from tour.
Yeah.
all the time. And it like I would explain to you what would happen just to give you guys an idea of my day in as a tour guide. We had to go according to, obviously, like with daylight savings and how long the days are and how short the nights are, and depending on when the sun is up and everything like that. But because it's so hot in Alice Springs and in the Northern Territory, I had to wake up everyone early in the morning so we could get all the walking done by at least about 11 o'clock before midday, because
too hot.
Because it's too hot. It's, and I would have to wake up at, I think it was 4 o'clock or a little bit. Yeah, I'd wake up at 4 o'clock and then wake up my customers or my passengers at 4:30, get them all ready. I was pretty much a mum for 24 people. Get them ready, organise their breakfast, or I would organise breakfast beforehand, the night beforehand. They would have their breakfast. We'd pack everything up, drive to the destination that we needed to do, walk for about 5 hours, then drive for about 5 hours to our next destination for the night, get out, cook the food, do everything, tell people where they're sleeping, and then go to bed at 10:30 at night and wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning the next day to do it all over again.
So what were the meals that you were cooking?
Well, because I mainly did the 3-day, 2-night tours, it was the same meal every single night. Or not every night, the same meal every time on a tour. So the first night was Chinese stir fry, and the second night was pasta.
Okay.
So I kind of had a handle. I got used to cooking that. And because I was so busy, I didn't eat at all. I only mainly ate at night time, because you got to, there's things that go wrong. You got to make sure that everyone's got their water. You got to make sure that everyone's got the right food, and something might go wrong with the bus. So it was a hard gig, but that's not all that went on.
No, especially not with Allison.
So that's not just all that went on. So one of the tours that I was learning on is it was a 5-day tour, and I remember we started on the tour. Everything was fine. We started on the tour and everything like that. And then I remember as we're driving back after on the 5th day, we drove to a section that we drove in the same area on day 1. And when I realised that we were actually in the same spot, all of a sudden it just felt like, instead of being gone for 5 days, it felt like I was gone for 5 years. And it felt like one of those moments where you've lost time. You've been taken. I don't know if I was abducted, but I definitely felt like I lost 5 years. And most likely we've all lost time, with the abductions that we've gone through, and then having to go and then come back again. Who knows how old we are really in this one life. So that was one of the moments. I don't remember really specifically if I have been, but that's what it felt like. And then one of my other stories that I love talking about is I was driving down the road. I can't remember what road it was, but it was this road going from coming back from Kings Canyon back down to Alice. And Alice Springs, or Northern Territory, is not a complete desert area. It's a semi-arid area. So there's bushes, there's some trees and everything around. And I just see this tiny tornado. And from the distance, I swear there was a being walking in the tornado, and I've never seen anything like it before. And I remember when I got back on the tour, I called you and told you about this tornado being. It was like he was just going for a stroll.
How tall do you think?
I think he was roughly around about 10 foot tall.
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure, because it wasn't a massive tornado. It was just like a little mini whirlwind kind of thing. But he just looked like he was just going for a stroll. And I've never seen anything like it before. So that's when I discovered there's a possibility that tornadoes are actually beings.
Well, there was a post on Facebook years ago where somebody took video of two whirlwinds, like what you experienced, with two beings walking and doing the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was years ago now, but yeah, there's two beings walking, and they were like little tornado beings,
Really?
people.
Oh, cool. So, yeah.
So they do exist.
Wow. Yeah, that was one of the coolest things that I've seen so far. I mean, there's other cool things, and I'll get to that in a sec because there's quite a few cool things. So then there was a moment that you had to intervene as well because there was something going on in Alice Springs, and I don't know how to explain it, but I was in a situation where Jason actually had to intervene and kind of teach a creature a lesson because it wasn't doing the nicest.
Well, physical person
/ creature.
Yeah, well, it was human avatar, but it was actually something else. And it was trying to dominate you and control you. And in that stage, you're still learning to be more of your powerful self and knowing who you are, stuff like that. And plus, brand new surroundings, and you didn't know. I mean, you met people, but you had no real friendships.
No.
And this particular entity thought, yep, I like her. I'm going to take and do what I need to do to get what I want. And we were discussing about this, and I was just getting so many downloads of this entity, and I'm just like, that's it. You're done. So at this stage, I'm living in the shed, and I did a tune-in and think, okay, so I just sorted it out, and pretty much to a point where I said, if you do anything else and try anything else, I will have no choice but to wipe you out. And then it stopped.
Yeah, it did stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and maybe because I couldn't actually intervene because I was still learning to be my own powerful self.
Yeah.
And also because I was in a galactic hub where I was being watched as well.
And that's interesting you say that because far as I understand, nothing happened to me afterwards.
No, I don't think anything did happen to you afterwards.
So I think I might have had a chat to a couple of them or something. So this is what's going on. This is meant to be a neutral zone, and this person's taking advantage of somebody else. I don't think it works that way here. So I feel that might have been why I could have done something about it. Because we had to.
Yeah, because who knows what would have happened. And I'm really glad you did because I'm here now with you doing what we're doing and loving every minute of it. So I'm really glad that you actually did step in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other stories that I remember is in Alice Springs, they were celebrating some kind of some national day or some kind of celebration going on. And there were fireworks, and I was on the phone to Jason, as I always am on the phone to Jason when I'm not on tour, or even when I'm on tour at night time. I was on the phone to you actually, really. But on this particular day, there were fireworks going on, and I was on the phone to Jason. And tell them what you thought it was.
Yeah, well, I was listening to the fireworks, and I'm thinking they're not fireworks. It sounded like explosions and guns going off.
It did.
It was, and I said, I think there's a battle going on, and they're covering it up with fireworks. And I'm thinking, geez, I'm really going nuts. But it did sound like that.
It did.
Because you're in this place and there's so much going on behind the scenes at this place, I got in my head there was a galactic battle going on, but they had to cover it up with fireworks, and it had to be planned out on that particular day for that to play out. I don't know how that works.
No, I don't know how that works
either. It's like, okay, Fred, there's going to be a battle going on with this faction, and we're going to have to do it on this day because that's where the fireworks are. That sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that's what it felt like, and that's what I kept on seeing in my third eye.
Yeah.
There was a massive galactic battle going on.
Because you're right, it makes no sense. Like, it's like an organised battle for both sides. It's, okay,
yeah.
Both sides have agreed to battle on this one day.
Yeah, so maybe we are losing our stuff. But that's what I was kept on being shown, and that's what I felt, and that's what I heard with my physical ears as well. It did feel like a massive Star Wars battle going on from the Star Wars movies. So that was really interesting as well. So much went on there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so much went on. Like, these are just a few of the stories that I can remember of what went on when I was living in Alice Springs. And like, because I'm just remembering, like, because I used to go, to give you guys an idea of where I went on my tour, I would see Uluru nearly every day. I would go to Katajuda every day, and I would go to Kings Canyon every day. And these are three of the, probably you could say, monumental places, main places that you want to go when you visit in the Northern Territory. Besides Darwin and stuff like that, but like in the Red Centre area, those are the three places. And then with Alice Springs, I love, not Alice Springs, with Uluru.
Yeah, what was that like?
Uluru,
Energetically as well.
I didn't really pick up anything energetically. I think I was just so focused on my tour. The only time I really picked up on stuff was like, you know, when I was able to chill out or drive, or I was at, you know, back in my apartment or something along those lines. But when I was on tour, I had to be focused because I had to make sure that my customers all had water. They weren't dehydrated. They were fed enough and they were fit enough. And if they weren't fit enough, I had to make sure that they were okay and safe where if they couldn't go on a walk or something like that. Plus also doing a tour, being the tour guide, telling them the stories of Uluru and the places. So I couldn't really feel any kind of energy from Uluru, but I did get this one sense that there was some kind of bunker at the bottom of it.
We were told that as well. Yeah, there's a bunker in the bottom of Uluru.
I thought
or a cave scenario.
There's something underneath Uluru. So yeah, that was the only one thing that I did manage to pick up of Uluru. But the energy pretty much of all those places. Glen Helen, I think, is one of the places that I went to, but I didn't go to there very often. I think it's Glen Helen. It is an amazing place with water, and a swimming hole, and the energy there is absolutely beautiful. Kings Canyon, love Kings Canyon because it kind of shows you that Kings Canyon was actually underwater and how high the water level was. So all these places, absolutely amazing. But I only managed to stay there for 7 months. I couldn't hack it as a tour guide anymore.
Because you said that you were finding yourself becoming like a dry rock.
Yes, the air there is just completely different to the air in Melbourne, because I came back for our birthdays. I remember that.
Which is October, yeah.
Which is in October because we're 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came back for our birthdays, and as soon as I came back to Melbourne for our birthdays, like I just instantly could feel the moisture in the air. Just instantly. And also Jason and I were, you know, getting to a stage in our relationship where we decided that, you know, we were going to continue on.
Yeah, well, I said, like, I've missed you a bit, baby. 7 months is a bit too long. And why don't you come back and we move in together?
And I agreed and love every minute of it. Like, absolutely love every minute of it since. Like, I think our adventures have just skyrocketed since then.
Yeah. And I said, but the only problem is I'm cleaning caravans for a living for $20 an hour. I'm living in a shed under a mate's house.
And there's no shower.
And we have to do bucket baths together, which can be a bit romantic.
It can be.
But that's the fairy tale version of it. Realistically, it was very bloody hard. And yeah, so you came back.
And I still wanted to do it.
Yeah. I'm like, geez, she's a crazy girl. She must really do like me a lot. And we were there for 3 months, and then...
Yeah. So yep, decided it was time to leave Alice Springs, and I drove back by myself because when I went there, my parents came with me. They drove in their car, I drove in my car. But this time I came back by myself, and I am so glad that I did, because it was a wonderful journey, a wonderful drive back. I don't really remember a lot of any weird things, but a few strange things did happen on the drive back. But absolutely love the drive back from Alice Springs, because I just love driving generally, and driving on the open roads is just amazing anyway. So one of the other awesome stories that I do remember driving back, I stayed because I did 2 days driving back, didn't I?
I think it took you a couple of days.
Yeah, it was two. I couldn't do it in one day. I did it in 2 days. So the one night that I stayed over, it was this tiny little town, like super tiny, not even Cooper Pedy kind of tiny. It was smaller than Cooper Pedy. And it reminded me of Star Wars, the first Star Wars, where you get to meet Luke for the first time, his home planet.
Yeah.
It was like that because it was just desert. It was just sand. That's pretty much it. There was nothing else except for this servo that was actually part servo, part restaurant, part sleeping place. And yeah, I just stayed there for the night, and I woke up about 5 o'clock because I really don't like driving when it's dark because of the kangaroos and the wildlife that just run on the road. So I wasn't keen on doing that. So I woke up at 5, and I think I might have left about 6 or something along those lines. And I remember, and it was still quite dark. And I remember driving down the road, and in front of me, probably about maybe a few hundred feet, because it was a distance in front of me, about a few hundred feet in a clearing, I swear I saw a futuristic city.
That's right, yeah.
I remember, I can even picture it as I'm driving, like as I'm sitting here now. And I remember driving down the road, and it was so real that I thought if I could drive into it and be a part of it. Mm-hmm. Like I really thought I could do that. And it was just this futuristic city with lights and all the things that you could imagine in a futuristic city. I don't know if it was a hub or it was definitely on a different frequency.
Yeah.
It was definitely on a different frequency.
It wasn't like per se physical.
No, it wasn't physical. It wasn't just people. It was not on this physical plane. I could just see it through my third eye, and it was amazing. If anyone's ever seen the movie Midnight Express, it reminded me of the movie Midnight Express because there was this special boy who actually happened to be a high frequency being who was birthed into the 3D reality for an experience, and then it was about his journey back to his own people. And then, I don't know, in the movie, there was some kind of energetic explosion, and it created a bubble for a certain distance. And within this bubble, you could actually see other buildings built on top of the original 3D buildings. Mm-hmm. And then these light beams with like their hearts glowing would just appear. And they took the boy. And it reminded me of that, the fact that there's buildings created on top of buildings, this glow. It was just absolutely amazing. So that was that one, and seeing the tornado beam were probably the best experiences that I can remember being in Alice Springs.
Yep, so you've had tall whites plus other galactics hanging around you, and an abduction and tornado beams and this future city.
Yeah.
That's not bad for 7 months.
Yeah. I know.
And I know there was a lot more, but you just can't. And our Galactic Battle as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot,
yeah,
more.
There was a lot more, but I can't really remember. And then driving back was, like I said, was amazing until I hit Bendigo pretty much. Because something weird happened in Bendigo. Because I was on the phone, because I was in reception area. Because a lot of driving from Alice Springs, you don't have reception. So because I was in Bendigo, I had a lot of reception area. And I was on the phone to you, and I remember saying to you that something's really not right where I was, because there was cloud coverage everywhere, but the sky was light, but it was heading into nighttime as well, because I think it was around about 9 o'clock, I remember. I was on the phone to you. All of a sudden, the rain was just insane. Like I couldn't see where I was going. That's how insane it was. But the sky was lit up even though there was clouds. And I thought it was just this weird feeling that I thought there was this huge craft above the area, because it was just a really weird night. And I remember you saying that you had to connect or put a cord on me so you could actually help me come back.
Yeah, so you pretty much lost your marbles by then, freaking out. in this weather plus all this other stuff going on above you. And I just kept on getting, she's going to need some help just to get to where I was living. So I just did an intentional call just to help with energy and to direct you, because it's like you want to be put off path or get lost, or it's just really crazy weird. Yeah, go.
Oh, I was just remembering, do you remember as I was driving back to your place, I actually got lost because I was using the GPS and the GPS took me down some weird, like it was a no through road or something like that.
Yeah, it was just all really strange stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I did the chord thing, just to help, make sure that you got back, to where I live in one piece, because there's so much bullshit going on, really. And you were scared to your wits, because, you pick up and feel everything. So...
Yeah, so I do remember that. I remember getting lost, but then eventually got to your place.
Yeah.
And
fell out of the car pretty much, exhausted. I didn't carry you in, but I sort of did. Like you were pretty.
I was
You were done
because I was driving from 5 o'clock one morning to 7 o'clock the night, and then again from 5 o'clock the next morning
to 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
No, to midnight.
I was at midnight.
Yes, I got to your place at midnight.
And I had to go back to work with clean some caravans. Yeah.
So it was midnight. I remember that. It was It was intense.
So it took you like a week to recover.
Pretty much.
I think because the 7 months of the Alice Springs experience, plus, everything experienced, plus the dehydration.
Yeah.
And everything else, and the drive back from there to Melbourne.
Yeah.
It just took it out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember sitting next to you, looking at you weirdly, thinking, wow, you're in my reality. Like,
yeah, I was so used to talking on the phone on FaceTime, and it was a little bit surreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just, I couldn't believe that I was sitting next to you. And here we are today.
I know, it's so much has happened since then.
So much has happened since then. And I am so glad. I'm so glad that I made the choice to come back.
I know, it's been a really exciting journey, hasn't it? Me too. It's been great.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
So thank you so much for your help and all your support. And
ditto, baby, ditto.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good at supporting each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is my journey in Alice Springs.
Yep. And there's much more to come.
Yeah, we've got heaps of other stories, everyone. Heaps of other stories.
So anything else you would like to say before we say goodbye? I just want to say to people, I just appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I do appreciate everyone listening as well. Thank you so much. I think I'm good. I think I am good. That's all I can remember.
We're such adventurers, aren't we?
That's what we are. You're an adventurer. I'm the archaeologist.
Yeah, so true. Well, thank you everybody for listening to us once again. We really do appreciate it. We send everybody lots of love and blessings to you all, and we will you will hear us. You will see and hear us.
We'll catch you in the next one.
Catch you in the next one.
See you later.
See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.